A victim of an American bombing is carried to an improvised operating room in a mangrove swamp on the Kamau Peninsula. This is a real, not staged photo. Vietnam, 1970. Before painkillers were available, doctors would distract patients with loud music. In this 1922 photo, a dentist's assistant is drowning out a patient's groans with a radio. In the 19th century, ketchup was sold as an effective remedy for rheumatism, diarrhea, and eczema. This made some sense, as lycopene in tomatoes is beneficial, though not a cure-all, and it helps some due to its properties. A Soviet lieutenant wipes his boots on a Nazi flag in Breslau, 1945. Jane Mansfield poses with the winner of the Miss Hollywood contest, 1957. Geronimo, the military leader of the Chiricahua Apache, who led the fight against the U.S. invasion of his tribe's land for 25 years. In 1886, he was forced to surrender to the U.S. Army. In 1969, when black people were banned from swimming near white people, TV host Mr. Rogers decided to invite Officer Clemens to join him and cool his feet in the pool. Ronaldinho once said, "My father taught me that I needed to learn how to control the ball barefoot to better feel my feet, and I promised him that I would control that ball like no one else. But the truth was, he didn't have enough money to buy me shoes. When I won my first Ballon d'Or, I didn't cry from joy. I cried because I no longer had a father." Bulldozers demolish illegally built huts by the poor USA during the Great Depression. German trench-digging machine, World War I, 1918. The Tour de France bike race, 1930. French racer Jules Mervel refuels with a glass of red wine. A warehouse filled with shoes from the victims of Auschwitz concentration camp, Poland, 1944. This shot tells a story that seems like the plot of a movie, but it really happened. Pictured is Joyce McKinney, a former beauty queen and winner of the Miss Wyoming pageant in 1973 after her arrest. In 1977, she kidnapped Mormon missionary Kirk Anderson, handcuffed him, and had sex with him for 3 days. The charred remains of the cabin of Apollo 1. 3 astronauts, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee, died in the cabin. The mass extermination of cats during Pope Gregory IX's time contributed to the increase in the rat population, which led to the spread of the bubonic plague, killing hundreds of millions of people. The British colony of Zanzibar on the east coast of Africa. A tired nanny poses next to her ward named Farrokh Bulsara, 1947. A quarter of a century later, the boy would adopt the pseudonym Freddie Mercury. Don't be afraid, boy, mommy is nearby. Italy, 1940. In 1910, safe razor inventor King Camp Gillette offered former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt a large sum of money to head his corporation in Arizona. Roosevelt declined, saying he didn't trust someone who made razors and wore a mustache. British inflatable equipment used to distract the Germans from the real troop landing in Normandy during World War II. Chicago explodes in rage the day after Martin Luther King Jr.'s death as people take to the streets, USA, 1968. Cemetery of German soldiers who died near Moscow. The inscription on the plaque on the nearest cross reads, "They rushed to Moscow but ended up in a grave." Bundles and bags with personal belongings on the streets of the Krakow ghetto after the remaining inhabitants were sent to Auschwitz, March 1943. They were ordered to leave their things. They would no longer need them. Members of the ultra-left Student Association protest against the arrival of the American nuclear submarine Sea Dragon at a naval base in Japan, 1964. A Black Rally in Russia, 1963. A rare photograph of the cruel tyrant George Harry Gault, a British colonial officer who arrived in Ibanda in 1905. Sometime later, one of the weary Ugandans named Rudaraka would kill him. Majdanek Death Camp, 1944. Soviet soldiers stand before a massive pile of human teeth. Architects present models of the World Trade Center, USA, 1964. Village Wedding, 1913. Incredibly happy faces. An American soldier poses in front of burning oil. Gulf War, 1991. Removing from friends in the 20th century. Many who fell out with friends or relatives would cut their faces out of photos. The beauty of Native American women. 18-year-old Keisha Thomas protects a fallen man, suspected of having ties to the Ku Klux Klan, from an enraged crowd of protesters. Michigan, USA, 1996. A man runs with a cart full of diapers during the Los Angeles riots, 1992. When Americans discovered that Native American women considered it improper to have hair on any part of the body except the head, they reacted by calling the practice barbarism and ugliness. The Last Feat, 1991. Vukovar, a Serbian fighter, carried a wounded comrade out of battle. Then he returned for another and was killed. He saved a life, sacrificing his own. A U.S. confectionery company stored its molasses in an enormous tank in Boston and severely skimped on maintenance. This led to an explosion, and 9 million liters of molten syrup swept over the city. People, horses, and cars were stuck fast in the molasses, and not everyone could be saved. Let's compare the first telephoto lens to modern ones, 1900. If caught by the police for jaywalking in South Korea, you had to stand in the shame box for 30 minutes, 1970s. Allied and Soviet soldiers parody Hitler on the famous Reich Chancellery balcony, Berlin, 1945. 4-year-old Barack Obama with his grandfather on the beach. The demise of the largest dirigible, the Hindenburg, marking the end of the dirigible building era, USA, 1937. American serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer accidentally took sleeping pills instead of his intended victim and, upon waking, found himself tied up and raped with a candle. Passengers boarding the Titanic, 1912. A real woman will always cover you, Italy, 1960. Albert Einstein in his free time, 1939. Testing bulletproof glass, New York, 1931. Martin Cooper from Motorola made the world's first mobile call. He called Joel S. Engel, a competitor from Bell Labs, 1973. In 1911, two traveling brothers, Louis and Temple Abernathy, were offered $10,000 if they rode from New York to San Francisco, 2796 miles in 60 days. According to the contract, Louis and Temple had to sleep and eat exclusively outdoors. Unfortunately, the brothers didn't win the reward. They arrived in 62 days. Still, it's worth noting, the older one was 11 and the younger one was 7. A giant Ferris wheel at the World's Fair in Chicago, 1893, USA. An Australian soldier watches as a Japanese soldier prepares to detonate a grenade against his own head, choosing to go out on his own terms. New Guinea, 1942. An Aboriginal man photographs his tribesmen on the northern coast of Queensland, Australia, 1929. Famous Wild West brothel of Ginny Botters, Arizona, USA, 1896. This is a Soviet woman who lost 7 sons during World War II. A prisoner from the American Sing Sing prison undergoes Chinese water torture, 1860. In the Qing dynasty, Chinese women cultivated long fingernails as a symbol of wealth and leisure. Breaking a nail was regarded as a genuine tragedy. The May Sao, 1945 edition of the Stars and Stripes newspaper, Hitler is Dead. During the 1927 Tour de France, cyclists were known to smoke cigarettes, believing the habit to be a form of performance enhancer for their lungs. Naturalist Carl Akeley poses with a leopard that attacked him, which he killed with his bare hands, 1896. Illegal alcohol trade, Berlin, 1929. Scott Fallman was the first to propose using emoticons as a way to express emotions when communicating online, 1982. War orphans searching for food, Tokyo, 1946. Prisoner number 4100, named George Davy. The young boy was sentenced to 1 month of hard labor at Wandsworth Prison in 1872. 10-year-old George stole 2 rabbits. Native Americans mastering the automobile, 1915. Prisoners of the Herero and Nama during the genocide in the early 20th century. A masquerade ball, Ball of the Illuminati, hosted by the Rothschilds in 1972. Male lipstick tester, 1960s. The Institute of Oral Love, 1971. Black humor from Austro-Hungarian pilots. The trampoline was invented by Eskimos to spot whales as early as possible during hunting. They used a stretched walrus skin that could throw them nearly to the height of the 4th floor. Winter 2011, Kim Jong-un consoles cadets who are grieving the death of Kim Jong-il. U.S. Army disperses WWI veterans demanding early payment of veteran bonuses, 1932. Messengers run out of the White House. The war has begun. USA, December 7, 1941. By the end of W.H., Germany was so desperate for recruits that many children were enlisted. Among them was 15-year-old Hans Henke, who cried after being captured by the U.S. Army in 1945. His parents were dead, and he had joined the army to survive. Professional mourner, Russian Empire, Estonia, 1912. In traditional funeral rites, she was hired to lament for the deceased. Female students on the street during Emperor Hirohito's speech on Japan's surrender, 1945. Previously, anyone could relieve themselves right on the city streets. A public urinal in Paris, 1875. The Miss Perfect Posture Beauty Contest, 1956. A drinking fountain for colored only, USA, 1940s. The Hollywood sign was created in 1923, but not as a symbol of the Dream Factory. It was simply advertising for new residential areas in Los Angeles, and the sign was originally longer, Hollywoodland. It was supposed to last about a year and a half, but due to the booming film industry in Hollywood, they decided to keep it. A farmer caught a wild pig that was eating his dogs, Australia, 1980. Beatles records burned in Waycross, Georgia, 1966. A crowd gathers at an information board showing the names of survivors from the Titanic sinking, New York, 1912. Eyes that saw the nuclear explosion, Japan, Hiroshima, 1945. The first Harley-Davidson motorcycle, made in 1903, had a carburetor made from a tomato can. A champagne inspector with a special mask to protect from accidental bottle explosions, California, USA, 1933. Robin Williams offers a roll of toilet paper to the thinker, 1990s. The Iranian Revolution, a crowd chasing and beating a supporter of the Shah, Tehran, 1979. Woman snatches matches from a monk attempting self-immolation, Seoul, South Korea, 1963. A ride on the metro, 1990. Monumental stone coins used by the people of Japan. They are still used as currency on the island of Palau. Gangster Sylvan Skolnick is wheeled into the courthouse on a park bench loaded onto a mail cart, Philadelphia, USA, 1966. A man raised this bull and then sold it to the arena. The wounded bull recognized him among the hundreds of spectators and ran up to him seeking salvation. The man kissed him, after which the bull was killed. Spanish newspapers dubbed this the kiss of Judas. Tokyo citizens mourned the death of Hachiko, 1935. The loyal dog waited for his owner at the station every day, even after his passing. Daddy Long Legs, the Underwater Electric Railway, 1897. Turkish teenagers marching to take part in the Battle of Gallipoli, 1915. In the early last century, there was a low-paid profession of tunnel guard. Workers lived in huts near the tracks, cleaned debris before trains, and had little time for sleep and rest. A baseball team of prisoners whose executions were delayed only as long as they kept winning. See 1910. Scientists from the University of Michigan conduct an experiment on themselves to study the effect of alcohol on the human body. Photos from 1949. A friendly conversation between Soviet and German soldiers in September 1939 after the partition of Poland. Such photographs were never officially published in the USSR. Halloween costume variety, 1930s. Sparked a reaction. Whether good or bad, I'd love to read your comments below. Get ready for the next installment very soon. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Catch you later.